Hello and welcome to another episode of Larson's Garage. On today's episode I'm going to show you how to remove the door panel of a 1979 Ford Thunderbird. It's also similar to the Mercury Cougar, 77 to 79, LTD-II and Ranchero. So all those models are very similar. What I'm going to be doing today is to remove the door panel. I want to grease up the window channel inside. I'm actually changing out a speaker. So that's the main purpose of doing this. So let's get started. So here's a list of the items we're going to need to do this job today. Starting at the bottom, I've got 2 Phillips head screwdrivers, 1 power. I'm going to use a wire cutter and stripper for installing the speaker. These 2 things are door panel removal tools. This one's really nice because it takes all the stress off the door panel itself. You basically just put that in there and squeeze it, and it pries out the panel. So I prefer this one, but you could use that one instead. A couple pairs of pliers, wheel bearing grease for greasing the window run. I've also got PB blaster. I like to shoot that in where the door lock motor is to keep that going smoothly. They have a tendency to dry up and freeze up. I will need to drill a small hole for the screws on the new speakers. Shop light, and I also have some simple green cleaner and some plastic and vinyl protectant I like to spray on some stuff inside while I'm in there. So that should be all we need to do this job. Let's go ahead and get going. Okay, we're going to start off by removing the Phillips head screws along with this switch panel here. Again, make sure you allow enough time. These are very brittle, especially with how old they are, the whole thing. So make sure you allow yourself enough time to get in here and get this done and not be rushed, because you do have to be very careful, especially with this piece here is very old and can be brittle. Now I hit this with some protectant a few weeks ago, a few times, so hopefully it's soaked in and it's got a little bit of give now. For us moving it around a bit. This actually stays on the door. This doesn't remove, but we do have a couple screws around that need to be pulled off. 1 screw here behind the handle. I use a long screwdriver for the one up here. There's 1 Phillips head behind the armrest. And then we have 1 screw over here. This is a very common area where these tend to crack, so you want to be really careful around there. And then we've got, we want to take the mirror bezel nut off. That unscrews. If you have to use some sort of tool, they do make a tool actually for this that fits in the center here, but if you don't have that, you can use some pliers, but make sure you cover everything up. Don't put the pliers directly on here or you'll mar the surface. Put pliers on and you can pull them off, but a lot of times they just come right off by hand. And usually when I put them back on, I just put it on by hand for the next time. Okay. So now this piece should come out. We're going to go ahead and just take this off. Well, that's interesting. I guess they never put that, tighten that down at the factory. Or somebody else was in here. We'll find out soon. Okay, for these screws, we're going to want to use, these are 9mm. Works best on those, so I'll go get these off. These are the screws that hold the switch panel in place. Okay, we can just put this switch panel aside. And then these switches we just tuck back in there for now. They stay with the door. Okay, so now we've got all these screws off. Oh, on these cars, there's 1 3/8 inch hex screw in here that you have to take off. Okay, now it should just be the door panel clips. So now I'm going to take my tool here and I like to start down at the bottom corner. I'll get you down there a bit. Okay, try and see if we can look for the first one. There we go. You basically just want to go around and try and see if you can find where they are. There we go. And then along the bottom, I usually do this by feel now. I really like this tool because you're not really yanking on the door panel. You just put all the pressure on the clips themselves. Okay, I believe that's it. Okay, so now that those clips are off, the next step here is to okay, so now what we can do is take any remaining clips out of here. These clips I actually like. Ford started using these in the late 70s into the early 80s, if you can see it. But it has a gap in the middle that squeezes. I like these better than the other traditional Christmas tree clips, they call them, that just have the discs of plastic sticking out. So if these are in good shape, I actually end up reusing these. Otherwise, I replace them with a fresh new set of the Christmas tree ones, which seems to be the only ones you can get right now that I've seen. Okay, so now we carefully, so before we move on here, just the fact that this has the moisture barrier in place tells me, and the low mileage of the car tells me, that this has probably never been off before, which is a good thing. But that also tells us that I guess that nut was never tightened down at the factory back in the day, which was interesting. But so what we want to do first is we want to try and save this, and keep in mind these things are 40 plus years old now. So I just carefully remove it here from the tar, or it's like a tar type glue. Now some of you may have this missing, or it's so bad, or just, you know, totally crumpling up that you want to replace it. The newer cars use a thick plastic film, which you can use that, or you can buy some tar paper at a local home improvement store, or the underlayment for wood flooring. They come in a roll as well, and that works good as a substitute if you don't have that. It's good to put this on though, because it does cut down on the noise, and also keeps the moisture from hitting your door panel and getting mold on the back of your door panel and weakening it. Okay. So this is what we have to grease up here. I'm gonna put the window up here so you can see everything that we need to grease. Wrong side. So we want to grease this tubular run here that we've got all the way down to the bottom, and then we want to put some grease in this little slot here. So I'm going to put the window up to do that. Again, I just use regular wheel bearing grease I get at the auto parts store. Get it covered. Try not to be too sloppy with it, although it's hard not to, but this is good because this will get it all freed up again. I've seen much worse though. This isn't too bad. And that's it for that. So I need to go get myself a paper towel. If you're replacing the speaker, I find a 6.5-inch speaker fits just about perfectly. I think it's about a 6-inch speaker in diameter that they use from the factory, but the 6.5 does fit in there, although you have to re-drill a couple of the holes. Or you could use a 5.25, which is a little bit smaller, but the 6.5-inch speaker fits best. What else? Oh, and the other thing I'll show you is I like to lubricate the lock mechanism as well as the power door lock motor. So let's do that right now. All right, so to lubricate the power door lock motor, we want to, that's it right there with the rubber boot on. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus on that. There we go. Okay, so it's extended now, so now we want to take our penetrant. Sorry, this is just really hard to coordinate here with the camera, so I'm going to take the penetrant, I'm going to go right inside the boot here and spray it down the center. Okay, use a good amount, and then what we need to do is just work it up and down a few times. Get the camera to focus. There we go. Now, also you want to spray some grease or some penetrating oil a little bit in the lock mechanism here, just to kind of reactivate the existing grease that's in there. All right, hit it a couple more times. I wish they made replacement rubber boots, but that's not the case. But this one works good. All right, and then the next thing we'll test now is the power window mechanism. Go up and down with that. Few times, make sure everything works well. This seems to be going pretty good. It's quiet. Tap the button a couple of times against the stops because you want to make sure that your power window motor gear is okay. They have a tendency to strip out and just make the motor run. Sounds like sometimes a lot of people say it's off track. It's actually the power window motor gear. And that is down in here. So again, oriented here. Here's the camera's not wanting to focus today. There we go. It's right down in this area here. I'm not taking the power window motor out today, so I won't be showing you that. But I will show you where it's at and what's involved in getting it out. power window motor you have to get to from back in one of these access holes. I find it best to take the speaker out, and then you're going to have to drill some holes right down in here. There's already preset dimples in the metal, which is where the mounting screws are for the window. One is there. As you can see, one is there. There's 3 of them. And the other one is down here on this particular car. You'll see it. There are like little dimples in there. Those have to be drilled out, unfortunately. Drilled out enough so that you can get a small 5/16 or 8mm socket in there with a short extension. Do that. You can unscrew it, screw it, and the window motor comes right out. Then you just disconnect it from here, from this connector, and the unit will come out. And then you put the new window motor in. So yeah, the hardest part of that job, in my opinion, is drilling out those holes big enough for a 5/16 inch socket to go through. And then when you put that window motor back in, you may have to move the window up and down a little bit to get it meshed in with the gear of the window motor and the window regulator assembly, the workings of the window. But you can do all that through the access of the speaker here. Okay, now to put the door panel back on. So basically, what we want to do here first, let me get this camera down a little bit, is we want to make sure that all these pins are, there's a larger hole and a smaller hole. You put it in this larger hole and slide it to the smaller hole and make sure it's all lined up. Very important in the smaller holes, okay? That means it's going to go in a lot easier, and you probably won't be breaking the clips then. The other thing, on this particular model, the Heritage model, they have the door pull strap. And on this, and a lot of Lincolns and stuff too, these sometimes get loose, the little nuts that hold that. This is fine. The one on the passenger side was pretty loose, but that's good. So not real tight, but just snug. And then same with these. These are the screws down here that hold the armrest in place, the big plastic piece, and they usually loosen up quite a bit over time. So now's a good time to get in there and tighten those up so we have a nice solid door panel. All goes back in. Again, snug, not over tightened, because you can easily crack and ruin these. Just to where they start to give you some resistance. I like to use a manual screwdriver on this one, a hand tool versus the power. So it's every screw here that has a large washer on it. It's amazing how these loosen up over time. Sure, you could put some Loctite in there as well, but that would require moving that, and I figured it's lasted 45 years or so without a real issue, so I figured I'll just tighten them back up, put it back in. Kind of the old if it ain't broke, don't fix it rule. All right, and then what I like to do also is just kind of clean it before we put it back in place. So let me get, all right, so I use my simple green, just kind of mist the inside. And this just gets rid of any of the dust, which kind of gives it that old car smell too. So we want to kind of get things as clean as possible. Whenever we take anything apart on the car, it's good to get the old crud and dust out of there. It stays clean, and it also reduces smells and odors and stuff in the car. You're basically just hitting it with a light mist of cleaner. All right, and then I even usually just mist it with some protectant as well. That just rejuvenates all the cardboard and plastic and stuff. And then do the same thing on the actual door itself. These get particularly dusty up here. I also like to spray the switch panels here. Again, just mist it and get all the gunk out of there. Get a chance to clean up those window switches real nice too. I just use a regular microfiber because it's got a little bit of a nap, which is nice. It gets in a lot of the crevices and such. Okay. You don't want to go crazy spraying these a lot, you know, obviously because they're electrical, but scared me. It's good to put some in there because it gets the dirt out. Not that it affects the performance of the switch itself, it just kind of cleans the, you know, for the look of it. Okay, just wipe the mirror. All right, and then, the other thing I like to do is put a little bit of lubricant on the door handle pivots here. Not much, just a little bit, because there's some grease in there, and that lubrication will reactivate the grease that's in there to a degree. And I just kind of hit that with a little protectant as well. There's like a little spongy rubber cover. Okay. I like to have the window down when I put this stuff in place, so we got more room to work. All right. Okay, so now we're set and ready to put the door panel on. So we first want to keep our eyes on two things. One, the top, because it has like a U, so that fits up in there, slides down onto here. We want to make sure that this door lock knob pokes through the grommet there, and we want to keep our eye on the handle. So to get through the handle, we first want to start, I'm going to put these wires up in the compartment where they go. And then the handle, get that going here. And then push the lock knob down. Just lift this over. Try and line up that lock knob. There we go. Up and over and in, and then once you get that, you want to slide it back until your door panel pins line up, the plastic pins, and then just start pushing them in. You shouldn't have to bang on them, they should just go in real easily. Make sure your wires are good here. You can hear them snap in. Okay. And then the next step is to put this 3/8 hex, just kind of go in the reverse of the way we took everything out. 3/8 inch hex guy in there, screw here. Okay. And then we want to do the Phillips head screws. There's 3 on this door. Well, 4 counting the plate, but we're just working on the 3 black ones right now. So we'll put one in here. I usually like to finish these up with a manual screwdriver just because of how fragile this stuff is. And the one on the top here. Sometimes you have to push that in a little bit to get this screw to catch. if this caught or not. I think it did. Sometimes when you put the other two in, it sucks it in enough to where this will line up. Again, you do not want to over tighten these things. Oh yeah, it's lined up. Okay. Okay. Very good. So then we just need to put the switch panel in and we're all set. I'd like to clean the back side of this, of course. Just missed it with your all-purpose cleaner. These are pretty nice on here. The Lincolns, they use plastic ones, and a lot of times it breaks, it gets brittle. These are nice metal pieces. So first you want to put the switches in, and then you do the mirror last. So, and you can only put them in a certain way, the way everything's oriented here. Put the nuts on. And we want to make sure we actually tighten up these nuts this time instead of what the factory did back in 1979. I don't know, it must have been a rough day, but I don't know about Carly's job one on this one. Get all these tightened up here. Again, just snug. You don't want to go crazy with these things, especially if they're Phillips head screws going into plastic, which aren't usually the case on this car. All right, that's about it. And then we want to put the mirror adjustment. You can see there's a little tab on the top and a large tab on the bottom. You'll note that it can only go in one way. Let's wipe this thing off. Okay. Shouldn't have to force it. It should make sure you find it, the thread, so you don't cross thread it. It should go in very easily. And then there's a little spring clip here that you put down, and then you slide the whole thing back, and you just kind of wiggle this down into place. And then there's a little tiny shiny screw to lock it into place. This you don't want to tighten very tight at all either. Generally, the smaller the screw, the less torque you give it to tighten it. If this is missing, this anchor that this goes into, or it's stripped out, they carry them at the home improvement stores like Lowe's and Home Depot. If you go in the hardware section where all the drawers are for all the screws, they've got those anchors. They're like little square, like license plate type anchors, but real small. So those are real easy to get if you want to get new ones. And that should be it. Now we just test everything. Lock works good. Try the window. Looks nice and smooth. Doesn't sound like it's hitting anything. And we're done. So we were able to take apart the door panel, put it back together, and not break anything. So again, just requires patience and time, and just, you know, be careful. But this should be good for a while now. Very good. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Take care. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel so you're aware of when we post new content. Happy motoring!